Welcome back, claws up, bear down, and you're right, Squeegee. We got 5 days to get better. 5 days and then 4 weeks, because that's what the off season's for. That's what preseason games are for. I'm not going to pretend like everything is happy dappy today because I do have some genuine concerns. We're going to voice those over. We're going to talk about how things have gone. Tomorrow is an off day for camp, so we're going to talk about these things. We're going to get into this team. We're going to get into where we are right now, where it stands, where the line is, especially because I don't want to keep bringing it up. But, guys, it's a reality. We could have had the Hall, and we could have had Jackson Powers Johnson, and we could have had Zach Zinter, and we could have had Kieran Amagachi Still, and we could have had more. But I will say, and I'm gonna remind everyone of this. I think everyone's reminded of this. I think this is the one thing of solace right now everybody has. Caleb Williams is special. Oh, is he special? He is very special. And watching him at camp and listening to the press conferences and listening to everybody, he's special. The only one that he's not special to so far are Packers fans and Lions fans and Vikings. Vikings fans haven't been annoying this year, but they don't see it because they're not watching. But everyone, teammates, other players, analysts, they're seeing how special Caleb is. He's rolling out. He's making adjustments. He's doing the audibles. My big concern today is that line. That line, guys. I'm genuinely concerned. Now, I'm going to remind myself, second day of pads. This defense is pretty stacked. But now remember that who's even the fourth defensive lineman? Who's the defensive interior lineman? Because you've got Jervon Dexter, you've got Zach Pickens, you've got Andrew Billings, who's, man, you hear the stuff coming out about him. You hear about how he's – so those who haven't heard, he disrupted 2 plays in a row for false starts, and he's been a disruptor all camp. And little things like his voice, he's making his voice sound like a quarterback's voice is what the complaint is. It's not complaint. They're not complaining because it's a blessing in disguise. He's making it tougher for the offense, so they have to adapt and adjust and get there. But he's saying, move. So he's move. Move is the word he's using. He's using move. And he's making it sound like a quarterback's voice, and it's throwing them off. 2 false starts in a row. And add on to that, Caleb had 2 picks today in a row, back-to-back plays. I'm not that worried about that. They're working things out with him, and he is different than Justin Fields. For those who haven't watched, who did I just watch? Oh, I watched a really good film breakdown. I wish I would have remembered who it was. Great breakdown where he broke down the first day of pads of camp. If you go Google it, you'll find it on YouTube. Really good breakdown about Caleb's abilities and capabilities. And then also the offensive weapons we have this year. I don't have doubts about Caleb at all right now. And that's a good feeling because even with Justin Fields, you guys know how hyped I was about Justin Fields. And I do. I believe in the kid. I believe in him ascending. I believe in him learning. He's one of those that puts his nose down, goes to work, and he will continue to improve. He's not where Caleb was when Caleb came into the league. Justin was always a developmental quarterback. So it is very different. Watching Caleb being able to read and feel the pocket, being able to understand where he is, it is very different when you watch on film. Even training camp film, I get it. It's training camp. They're just barely getting pads on. It is different. When you go watch it and you watch breakdowns of it, it is different. That rollout to Tyler Scott, yes, it was a fun play to watch. Justin can make that play too. I agree. Justin can make that play too. His deep ball is amazing. The difference is when you see the pocket collapsing, you watch Caleb's peripheral, you can see him understanding where the pocket is, and then he steps into it or he rolls out of it. And that's the biggest thing I noticed so far with Caleb. And it's fun to watch. I really enjoy watching him so far as a quarterback. The other big thing, and I'll get to chat in a minute, appreciate all you guys. The other big thing, today's press conference was better than most. So if you guys didn't catch the press conferences, specifically watch Matt Eberflus, watch Tyler Scott, and watch Braxton Jones. All 3 of them phenomenal. And I'm just going off my head right now. I didn't write down cliff notes or anything, but with Matt Eberflus, the one thing I really love that he said is they're crowning us as a top 5 defense. Who's doing that? Who's crowning us? We're not. All I care about is the grass, what we do on the grass on Sundays. Essentially saying right now, every team is 0-0. Every team is a fresh slate, 0-0. Every team is brand new. Every team changed in the offseason. Every team is different. And this team has to work just as hard to prove they are where they were ending up the end of last year, to where they are now. Now, I do believe a lot of the offensive struggles that you're seeing in camp right now are a direct result of that defense being basically the same, and the players who are there that are the same are improved. There's clear reports that Gervon Dexter is improved. His body size, his body shape, muscle mass, his leanness, his bull rush, over and over and over. Yesterday's press conference talked about, the day he talked, which was like day 2, talked about his get off. It's clear and obvious to everyone that he is a bull rush machine. It's different. If you watch the one highlight tape from him yesterday in pads, the ball was snapped, and before the offense could even move, he was basically swimming over the top, and he had disrupted the play. It was a handoff, and it was a tackle for a loss. If it was a game in the season, it was a tackle for the loss. The dude is impressing me. Andrew Billings clearly sounds like he's improved as well. He's got a leadership role on the team. Justin Jones being gone is probably a blessing in disguise for him. He can step up and take that mantle with a player who played significantly better than Justin Jones last year. Nothing negative about Justin Jones. I appreciated his better days in Chicago. Last year was not that year for him. He was not. There's a reason we let him go. Arizona signed him for bigger money than anyone should have signed him for. Great, good. Go play well, just like him, Eddie Jackson. I hope they do well. I got nothing against these guys, but I like seeing the improvements on the team. Then you've got Montez Sweat, who on this channel you guys have heard me talk about or DeMarcus Walker. When Montez Sweat came over, he improved significantly, and obviously nothing but good to say about Montez Sweat. According to where you're looking at, 12.5 to 16 sacks last year, which led both the Browns and the Bears. First time in history that's happened, but also his constant mentality of the guy next to me is just as important to me. And he's talked about this in his press conference. This is a team full of guys wanting the guy next to them to make plays, being sacrificial, being able to not pad the stats. And if you guys didn't catch that, that is a direct dig on Yannick Ngakoue. I can bash him as much as I want on this channel. You guys can oppose it all you want. The reality is, I think most of you realized it now that Matt Eberflus has said we're not, or Ryan Poles has said we're not really looking. And the national media keeps saying, oh, the Bears will go get Yannick Ngakoue. Well, finally, they said, Eric Washington in his press conference said that Jacob Martin has impressed him. He's in every day early, and he's working on the little things every day, and he's impressing him. And finally, people are starting to realize, oh, these things Adam was talking about, 17.3% pass rush win rate last year. And it's not just last year, guys. When he was a full-time starter with Houston, it was always above 10%. Yannick Ngakoue last year was 4.8%. Montez Sweat is right around 11, 12%. Now, I'm not saying Jacob Martin is better because his run defense, his contain is much worse. He's that defensive end you put in on third down when they have to pin their ears back and bull rush and use his swim moves and use his pass rush ability to get the sack. And he will do that. Jacob Martin is a specialist for that. Austin Booker is going to be a three-down player, in my opinion, once he gets up to speed. But it's going to start with Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, and Gervon Dexter. You've got Zach. Who's the fourth defensive interior? I don't even know. So when they say the defensive line is just doing that much better than the offensive line, yeah, I agree. Our defensive line is good, but nobody's touted our defensive line as a top 10 defensive line this year. And if Gervon Dexter does what he's showing and takes that next step, we definitely can be top in the league, top 15, top 10. It's possible with Montez Sweat. DeMarcus Walker's average. I don't think he'll ever hit elite status. He's not gonna turn into your, top tier Max Crosby guy. That's just not gonna happen. But Austin Booker, with enough development, I have faith that he could turn into something. It's way too young for a rookie defensive end to say yes yet, but his abilities are there and he can translate, and he's young. So that's the excitement about him. So to say the offensive line is only struggling because of this defensive line, I don't know. That's what makes me worry about the offensive line. So let's look at this team right now. So here's where we stand right now. I'm going to go through this briefly. Actually, let's get into the chat first, guys. Let's get into the chat. Appreciate all you guys. Boom, boom, boom. Squeegee, Creighton Wilfong. I always love your comments, Creighton. Breaking news. Gervon Dexter has a tummy ache from all the cheese heads he ate. Maybe lactose intolerant. Bring you more as we get the details. Is there any more? Is there any follow-up to that? I'd like to know. Squeegee, good to see you in the chat. 38 in here right now. Appreciate all you guys. McFact. I know there's a lot going on. Jose Goncalves, no pads with 7 people on each side. And we're saying Caleb Okay. You can say what you want. Jigsaw, Relentless Mikey. Always appreciate your Relentless Mikey. Jay Brinko, yeah, Love got his deal. If you guys didn't see, Swifty and I were going back on that. He thought he'd get 5. I thought he'd get 3. I just know the Packers aren't a poverty franchise, so they're not going to sign a kid to 5 years. Ended up being right in the middle of that. And if you see the guarantees, they're basically locking themselves in for this year and the next 3 years after that, not being able to get rid of Jordan Love. So we got a 4-year window here with Caleb where we should absolutely be capitalizing on this. I can do whole episodes on that, guys. I mean, think about it logically. The Packers had one of the best offensive lines in the league. They had an unknown weapon unit with their mini wide receivers who are good young receivers. Good job drafting them, but one of the best coaches. And Jordan Love hadn't had much more than a couple plays. I mean, a game where people had tape on him. You've got a full season of a quarterback who's completely inaccurate, one of the worst in the league at accuracy, who had weapons that nobody had tape on. And they went 9-7 and barely 9-7. It was a squeaky cheese. It was a squeaky cheese 9-7. And you're telling me that he deserves $55 million a year? Nah, sorry. This is the time to capitalize right now. Oxy Brodon's here. Thank you for being here. Rob Hansen, I always love seeing Rob Hansen. Bash away at him. Yannick deserves every bit he can get. That dude you know and love. Jeff Potter. Appreciate all you guys. All right, so let's get into some more meat and potatoes because I do have concerns. I'm gonna flat out say it. I have some concerns about this line. Do I have panic concerns? No. Guys, Connor Williams isn't signed yet. He went and worked out for Seattle. Seattle liked it. They're in negotiations. Basically, sounds like it's a done deal. If today triggers a little bit of sensitivity with Ryan Poles, I hope it does. Go step in. Tell Connor Williams you want him to come work out for the Bears. He doesn't have to be there for a Hall of Fame game. He doesn't have to be there for week 1 of the offseason. He's a vet. Bring him in, get him up to speed. Let's see what happens. Even if you didn't catch that, the 2 centers we have now snap differently. One snaps with a spin, one snaps with knuckleball. I don't love what I'm seeing right now. I don't love seeing these types of things. Okay, let's get into it. So here's what I want to go over. So this is the thing I've shown you guys all offseason. The 16 up at the top, hidden by that StreamYard, that's the number of offensive linemen. Now, when we cut this down to the 53-man roster, when we cut that down, there's going to be 9-ish on the active 53-man roster. Okay? Right now, the ones in pictures are the ones that I say are locks to make this team. These guys are locks. For one reason or another, they're locks. Now, that is a significantly better offensive line than last year. When you had Aviante Collins, who you see down on the bottom left behind my mug, that's his name there, Aviante Collins, as a 4th backup on the O-tackle spot. Now, when he was our 4th tackle to end the year last year. Now he's our, 3rd backup tackle. That's a good thing. Okay, Larry Borum was the swing tackle, our tackle 3 last year. Now he's probably our tackle 5. That's a good thing. But he was getting reps yesterday, albeit bad reps. He was not playing. He'd had a play or two where he looked good, but the rest of them didn't look so good. The big broken play you saw, that was Larry Borum. I did a quick live and a breakdown of that. And look, I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know how well all these. This is just kind of how we're projecting off of last year, where we are now. We did improve significantly, bringing in Ryan Bates, Coleman Shelton, Matt Pryor, Kieran Amagaji. Those are big upgrades. Now, they are not upgrades overall our starting spots. Now, the center spot is an upgrade over the starting spot. The big thing for me with Connor Williams is, you see, if people haven't heard, this isn't breaking news. Nate Davis left practice today with a strain. Now, in Matt Eberflus's press conference, he addressed it. He said, any strain whatsoever, we pull him off. They rest that day. We try to get him back as soon as possible. But either way, whether he was healthy or not, he wouldn't have gone back in today. No way about it. Okay, he had a strain. How bad that strain is, nobody knows. Will they x-ray it? Nobody knows. He was very, very vague on his answer there. But Nate Davis does have a history of injuries. If you don't remember the picture of him being carted off last year, he missed some time because of his injuries. And then he had his family thing. That's excusable. That's completely different. His mom passing away, a long, drawn-out death, that is hard. I get that. The injury today doesn't make me feel super comfortable because what did they do? Now, if Ryan Bates was the front leader for the center position, they moved him over to guard, and they had Coleman Shelton then playing center. Two different types of snaps. Now, Matt Eberflus addressed it, and he said during the week leading up to practice, whoever the starter is, that's all you need to prepare. Now, what if Nate Davis gets injured in a game and Ryan Bates is starting and needs to shift over to guard, and Coleman Shelton comes in and he's throwing a knuckleball and Ryan Bates is spinning a spiral? And it's different in the game, and it costs to a fumble and it costs to a turnover, which huge, guys. This team is going to be a competitive team, but we have to have all aspects of it churning. So if you can bring in Connor Williams still, obsessive Connor Williams watch, I know, but guys, he's not signed yet. And I have to believe it's because Ryan Poles with once Larry Borum's cut, there's going to be you see 12 million is the cap right now. Once Larry Borum's cut, once one of these running backs is cut, you're going to see it up to about 14, 15 million. Now, he likes to run with some in the season, but what you're going to be looking for is when these rosters trim down from 90 to 53, is he going to go after someone then? And who's going to be available? I would rather have us go out and get a Connor Williams and figure out a way to make it work with the salary cap than to just add another piece. Because right now, look at the screen. There's 8 pictures and 9 will run in the season. Who's that 9th guy? Is it Ja'Tyre Carter? Probably. Right now, because of Ja'Tyre Carter's familiarity with the Bears and how he played last year, I can't imagine it's Larry Borum. Now, Kieran, how is he going to start the season? Is going to start on the non-contact injury and come off after a couple games? I don't know. Yes, Greg, you're right. Borum is taking first-team reps because of last year. Now, man, I'm going to be really disappointed if Larry Borum is starting the season as the swing tackle. 411 reps last year, and they were bad. Out of 113 tackles in the league, he graded out as 110th. So those are qualified players. That's not good. Now, every player can improve. I understand that, but Larry Borum was not a stud coming out of college that we had to have. We need Kieran healthy. We need Matt Pryor to be. I want to know why Matt Pryor's not getting the reps. So, yeah, my concern is there. We don't even have a 9th guy right now that you feel comfortable on this roster. You mentioned it, Greg B. Borum's the backup right now while Kieran's hurt and while Braxton's, whatever he's doing to nurse some things. He's not taking first-team reps over Braxton, just so you guys understand that, to be clear. He's not taking first-team reps over Braxton. Right now, he's lined up as the swing tackle because Kieran's not healthy and up to speed, and I don't know what's going on with Matt Pryor. So makes me wonder, does that lead to comfortability for me to anybody else? It shouldn't. It shouldn't lead anybody to be feeling super confident and healthy. McFact, I'm still not sold on Braxton Jones. That left tackle position hasn't been solidified. Here's the thing I'm going to say about Braxton Jones. In fact, we'll pull up. Let me pull this up for you guys. If my computer won't be slow. We'll try it again in a minute. I got too many tabs open from research I'm doing. He's improved every year. All I'm going to say is he's improved every year, just like Justin Fields when we brought Justin Fields up. Braxton Jones is actually above average tackle in the league. Is he your guy that you feel confident going into the Super Bowl with? Not really. So here, this is what I'm going to bring up. We're going to skip a bunch of these. We'll come back. Here's one big thing I wanted to show today. If this line isn't completely improved, it's all going to be on Caleb and the weapons. And teams can do that. Look at LA last year. They went from 30th to 17th. Now, I think we're going to have a similar jump to that with where we stand right now. So to explain this, these are the playoff teams from last year. There's 2022 and 2023. There's pass blocking efficiency, okay? We all know the Bears have a good run blocking efficiency. We're one of the better run blocking teams, which is why we're always one of the leaders in running in the league. Now, part of that has to do with Justin Fields too, and how he can take off and get yardage, and it helps. But look at these teams on here. Teams like the Packers can get away with a crappy quarterback. 3rd best pass blocking efficiency and 9th in 2023. They can get away with that. Teams like the Cowboys can make Dak Prescott look better than he is. 11th best and 4th best in 2023. And the same thing with, say, the Dolphins. Tua looks better than he is because of their scheming and because of how they play. Other teams have to have great quarterbacks. Now, I do believe Matthew Stafford, with his experience, is a great quarterback. Having 30th and then 17th last year, but it helped to have the weapons. So I think we're doom and gloom. Yeah, CJG, I want to point this out. I didn't know San Fran dropped that much. Guys, I should do a video on quarterbacks in the league, and I probably will. The reality of the situation is Brock Purdy's a top 5 quarterback, and he doesn't get any credit because of the weapons they have there. Now, the same thing might happen this year with Caleb Williams. You might see the exact same narrative that you see on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a Purdy quarterback. The way he drops back, his footwork, the cleanliness of his throws, his accuracy, his deep ball, everything about Brock Purdy, just because he's playing with those weapons in San Francisco, doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. He's top 10 at least, and he's not getting credit for that with all your analysts. So the Bears the last 2 years, to get back to the pass blocking efficiency, 29th and 26th. What if we take a leap like LA and go from 29th, 26th, 30th to 17th, and then we have the playmakers? Puka Nacua was huge for them last year. They got Cooper Kupp back. They had the weapons they did, and they were able to squeak into the playoffs. With this team and a bad pass blocking efficiency, say we're 18th, say we're 20th, say we're 17th like the Browns, 24th like the Steelers, I still see us squeaking in, especially with the third easiest schedule. Absolutely. Does it make me comfortable though? No, I don't want to be the team that squeaks in. I want to see this pass blocking line. I want to see this line fixed to the point. I want to see Connor Williams come in. Go back here. I want to see Connor Williams come in and be able to have Coleman Shelton be the backup. Have Ryan Bates be possibly the starter over Nate Davis. Because I believe if Ryan Bates has the opportunity to compete against Nate Davis, he absolutely might beat him. Absolutely might. Huh. All right. We'll get into some other positions. Jose, you might have to get muted, brother. You must be another team's fan because you're talking crazy talk. All right. This team is built for the playoffs. Absolutely. 100%. This team is built for the playoffs, especially with the defense we have. This team is absolutely stacked. This team I've done it. I've put this team against the other teams in the division. The only team better than us in the NFC North is the Lions, and that's taking my bias out of it. That's absolutely stacking up this team against other players in the same division. This team with the third easiest schedule, it'll be a shocker in fact, Vegas, if you look at individual games, we're favored to win 10 of those. We're a 50-50 on one of them. So Vegas has us at 10 and a half wins. So we'll go with that. The other thing that I love when you're going out of camp so far, because get back on track, we're recapping the last couple of days, and I'm going to talk about what Tyler Scott said and what Bayless Jones said. Both of them said things that alluded to Shane Waldron. Now, go watch some highlights of camp. The play calling and the scheme, everyone is talking about it, from Romo Dunze to Keenan Allen, who's a 13-year vet, 12-year vet, whatever it is, talking about Shane Waldron's offensive scheming. And you watch the way he play calls, you watch out of the backfield already, even when they're going to throw a little screen play or they're going to throw a little dump pass to a running back, to see the two tight ends and the wide receiver, the slot, Keenan Allen, when you see them lined up on the one side, it threw the defense off. The defense wasn't used to it. And the defense has the playbook. And then they dumped it out right to DeAndre Swift. Nobody was on it. Now, it's one play, and it's training camp. I get that. But watching the play calls and the schemes, they are completely different than what we're watching with Luke Getsy. It is night and day. It is completely different, and I love every second of it. So when I'm sitting there watching some of these highlights from camp, that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm pausing it, looking first at the offense, and when you don't have a clear strong side or weak side, you're throwing off the defensive tackles. They can't line up in the gaps. You can't have a true three-tech come against you. They've got to line up against the two guards on each side, because you have a balanced side where you're not seeing which side it's coming from. It throws off the scheming. I'm already loving what I'm seeing from Shane Waldron. And you listen to guys like the lineman talking about how it's clear there's purpose behind what they're doing. And that's a dig on Luke Getsy, but it's a reality of the situation of this team feels purpose behind what they're doing, behind why they're running what they're running and how it's working. Now, there needs some cohesion, and I really wish from day one we had a clear-cut center. I wish we had a Connor Williams. We could have had Jackson Powers Johnson. We could have had Zach Frazier. We could have had that situation with the Hall, but that would have given up Caleb Williams. So I'm going to revert back to this. I'm going to talk about it for 2 seconds. I couldn't be any more clear that I am absolutely head over heels as a fan about Caleb Williams. I truly believe he's going to land somewhere between the Pat Mahomes and the Jalen Hurts of this league. Jalen Hurts, great quarterback. I don't think he's quite there. I don't think Jalen Hurts, without the team, I don't think he's quite there. Pat Mahomes is the definition of a quarterback without the team. He can still carry it. He's the epitome of that quarterback that can freestyle, but also rally the team. And everything you're hearing about Caleb is right in the middle. And with a little experience, he could become super special, super duper special. This line worries me. Let's go over the other positions real quick. I want to go here. So here's the 28 on the offensive playmakers, because I want to point out, I mentioned this before the season that Tyler Scott, well, before the preseason, and Velus Jones were wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 5, and there was nothing changing my mind off of that. What do you hear from camp? You listen to those two today in their press conference. Tyler Scott has some freaking swagger, guys. He's got some swagger, and I'm loving every second of it. He talked about how he has about 4 more pounds of lean muscle mass, so his size is bigger this year, and he's trusting himself with his speed better. Go listen to his press conference today if you didn't listen to it, because it's something I think is worth bringing up is Tyler Scott today. Now, he had the catch in the end zone, and I can't remember. I think he said it was Terrell Smith. Maybe it was Tyreek Stevenson that was on him during that play. It's one play. I'm going to reiterate that. It's one play. But when you watch Tyler Scott over and over in all the different reps, he is more clean. He's more concise. And even watched after practice is over, he was out there with the jugs machine, catching passes. He's out there working on his craft. He's always impressed me. If you haven't watched on Adam Rank, or who is it? I think it's Adam Rank. He has him as a regular guest during the season every week. The kid is the epitome of intelligent and hardworking. But last year, when you watched him on that show and you listened to him after games, confidence was not there. Not there. And this year, he says the biggest difference going from year 1 to 2 is, he mentioned Shane Waldron in this offense. He mentioned it. He says very, very similar to what Luke Getsy runs, but some tweaks to it. But he mentioned his confidence in his ability to run his routes and trusting his speed. I love hearing that from him. And then you go listen to Velus Jones today too. He talked, there was a lot of fun things about Velus Jones. He talked about, because they would, obviously this is based off of the questions they're receiving in the press conference. They asked him about if he's willing to run as a running back out of the backfield and take some snaps there. He said, guys, I did that in high school. And you guys you're bringing that up because you saw some of that last year and you saw some of that transpire. He's absolutely willing to, but he talked about the same thing, his confidence in this play calling scheme. It's more clear. That's the biggest resounding thing I'm hearing so far in training camp over the week. And then the last couple of days with pads. And now tomorrow, guys, the day is off. There's nothing tomorrow. And then you're going to have 3 days of practice and then a light, tomorrow. So 2 days of practice, then a light one on Wednesday, and then Thursday they're going to have the Hall of Fame game. We're going to see the young guys. Tyson Bagent already talking about how he's pumped to play in the Hall of Fame game. That's going to be a lot of fun to see. Who's that 6th wide receiver? I don't know yet. We don't know yet. Who knows what's going to happen? That's why we're going to have the 4 preseason games. But I'm locked in with those top 5, and I feel excited with their confidence. And also, when you listen to Tyler Scott talk about that one play in the back of the end zone, he gave praise to Caleb like crazy. He said that was all Caleb. The way he rolled out, but also trusted it and put it right where I could have it. That was all on Caleb. Those were his words. It was all on Caleb. All right. We're going to hurry and go through the last 2 real quick, and then I'm going to give some final thoughts. I wanted to keep this about a half hour. I appreciate all you guys being here. I'm missing a lot on the side, but to sum up the beginning thread of this video, how I feel about 2 false starts in a row, and then watching the tape and seeing the defensive line. Guys, this defensive line right now is not a top 10 defensive line of the league. We hear about the defense being better than the offense. Well, yeah, it should be. But it's not like we went out and got Christian Wilkins, and it's not like we went out and got Max Crosby. This is DeMarcus Walker, Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, and Andrew Billings. And I agree that those 4 starters are really good, and they have the ability to be top half of the league, 10 to 15. I agree with that. But we're not talking like we're facing Max Crosby and Montez Sweat and Andrew or Gervon Dexter and Christian Wilkins. It's not like they're facing those 4. So the pressure that this offensive line is letting through worries me. All right, here's the defense and the special teams. You look at the defense. This is what I'm saying. And you got Jacob Martin to come in on 3rd down. I love it. Austin Booker is developmental. Next year we have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. And absolutely, I think one of those is coming to the defensive line and one's going to the offensive line. I'm going to lock that down right now as foreshadowing. And maybe 2 to the offensive line, maybe a wide receiver. I don't know. But right now, I don't even know in camp who's pulling through as that 4th defensive interior guy. I don't know. Talked about conditioning. Gervon Dexter, they said today, was playing 8 snaps in a row. 8 snaps in a row. And I feel really, really, really good with those 2 right there, with Gervon Dexter and Montez Sweat. I feel good about DeMarcus Walker. From everything I've shown you guys, I feel good about it. I feel good about Jacob Martin coming in as the 3rd down specialist to pass rush. I feel really good about Andrew Billings on your everyday or every down plug stuffer. I do. We can improve in the position, but I feel really, the year he had last year was a career year. I feel really good about it. I don't feel good about the depth of this team. I don't feel good. This is why we wanted the haul. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't have taken Caleb. That was clearly the right decision. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't have taken Rome. That was clearly the right decision. We did what we were supposed to do, but now we still have some picks next year, and I'm wondering why we're not using a little bit more of that salary cap this year to fill in one of those. It's starting to creep into my mind. Ryan Poles. Now, if you look at the numbers at the top here, you look 16 players on offensive line, plus 28 for the playmakers. That's 44. Plus 20 for your defensive line special team. That's 64. Plus 26 for your secondary. That's 90. So that's your 90-man roster right now. So it's not like we have to go get someone, but one of these guys can easily be cut to make room for someone else. Elijah Hicks, one of the worst in the league last year. Javin White, who's from my UNLV, he just barely got added, and he doesn't even really fit in with the scheme of where we are. He's a camp body. That's all he is. I'd love to see him make the roster, but he's a camp body. That's what he is. Cameron Lyons isn't going to make the team. You could cut him. Deshaun Mallory, does he really have a shot at making the team? Daniel Hardy. Brett Rippon. I don't know. There's question marks why we're not going out to snag one more guy. I get it. This is a rebuild. Now, I've gone on Twitter with people and said, if you don't think we've upgraded this line, you're crazy. I've said that openly. Ryan Bates, Coleman Shelton, Matt Pryor, Kieran Amagaji are better than Larry Bourne, Aviante Collins, Cody Whitehair, and now I'm even forgetting the other center's name because he's gone. Peace out. So with that, we've improved. And this is a rebuild is brick by brick. It takes time. But is our offensive line going to be good enough to take this team? This is last year's playoffs. And you see the Packers squeaked in at 9-8. You see the Steelers were 10-7. The Packers had the worst team of any worst record. And really, they were a 7-win team. They got lucky on a couple games, and they're not improved this year. You look at every team in the division improved more than the Packers did this year. The Packers didn't do much to improve their team. They got Xavier McKinney. That's the only big move I saw them do. That's the only their draft picks were really suspect. The Lions draft picks were amazing. The Lions went out and got DJ Reader. The Lions went out and got Ziegler. What's his name? Guard from the Ravens. Either way, the Lions improved. The Bears went out and got Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, DeAndre Swift. On top of that, getting Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze. Those are just some of the low-level ones. So is it enough? That's my question mark right now. That's what I'm going to leave you guys with here. You look at these teams last year, the worst team with pass blocking efficiency in the playoffs was the Steelers. They made up for it in other ways as well. And the Steelers barely squeaked in. They were the 7th seed as well. Some teams can get away with it with their play calling and their good line. The Packers, if they weren't the 3rd and the 9th best pass blocking efficiency, there's no way they would make the playoffs. And their line is diminished a little bit this year. Zach Tom doesn't even have a clear place on their line right now. Is he going to play center? Is he going to play tackle? They keep moving it back and forth. Then they picked up Jordan Morgan, who is getting dominated by Austin Booker in the Senior Bowl. Like I'm not just being a homer, guys, when I say the Packers are not improved this year. The Packers will have a losing record. I don't have a problem making those bold takes because I go off of stats and viewing tape, and I'm not your national media dude. These guys out there saying the Packers are so special and look what the Packers did and look at how Jordan Love and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to give those stupid takes because I'm not having to homer for those types of – I'm not worried about being wrong. I've never worried about being wrong. I do not believe the Packers make the playoffs this year. I think their ceiling is 8-9. Prove me wrong, Packers. Prove me wrong. The Bears were a 7-10 team. It is what it is. Who could have been a better team, but luck didn't go our way. There were some things, and play calling. I mean, we can go into that round and round and round all day, but the reality is where the Bears were a better team against other teams last year, but we didn't have it against the Packers. And that's why the Packers fans, and that's why the Nationals said, oh, it's the Bears, though. And until they did, I'm going to say right now, if you didn't see my bold takes, go look at my other video, go look on Twitter. The Bears will sweep the Packers this year. The Lions will sweep the Packers this year. Our real contest this year is against the Lions. And I think the Lions are greatly improved in every aspect of their team. Think of the Lions from last year. Now look at their 13th ranked pass blocking efficiency. They should be top 5 easily. The Lions should be a top 5 team in every regard this year. The Bears are going to have their hands full. I'm glad we don't play them till week 12. It's week 12. It's right after the Packers Thanksgiving game. We should be up to speed by then. And this should be a team that's ready for that. But where's the line going to be with all of that? What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to go out and pick someone else up? Do you think there's any shot? Because if you're waiting for cuts, who's it going to be? Right now, I don't know who you pick up. Teams are cutting these players. Is there someone that's going to be more impactful than Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton? Probably not. Connor Williams is the only one I think right now that is going to be more impactful than those two. So right now it's run with them. What if Nate Davis does get injured? What if Tevin Jenkins does get injured? Because until Tevin stays healthy for 17 games, I'm concerned about it. The depth of this team is what worries me. We drafted a tackle, a swing tackle, to replace Larry Borum, who played terrible last year, one of the worst in the league as a swing tackle. We drafted a tackle that's injured already. Those are my concerns. So yesterday I was more optimistic, trying to say, look, it's the beginning of camp. We're just getting started. These guys have to gel. And I firmly believe all that. And I firmly believe Caleb is him. I believe Caleb is the guy to be able to take us like a, let's say, Pat Mahomes, 15th pass blocking line last year. I mean, if you just want to compare him to who's being compared to, Pat Mahomes. 15th best line, but still carried the Chiefs all the way into the Super Bowl. That's the type of guy that Caleb can be. So I do feel good about that. I don't feel good about having to shift 2 different styles of center, one that throws a knuckleball back and one that spins it. I don't feel good about having to shift him mid-game and moving Ryan Bates over to guard when Nate Davis has to come out of the game. I don't feel good about that. If Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton both snapped the ball the same way, both had a spin, both had a knuckleball, I'd feel better about it. But mid-game, that might be a little bit rough. I'd rather have a veteran, established center all game, every game. Coleman Shelton's been healthy. I hope Coleman Shelton's it. I hope he is the one that wins the job. I hope we can go pick up Connor Williams. I'm still on the obsessive Connor Williams watch. So haven't been paying attention to the chat. I apologize to you guys. I love this Buffalo Bob. Torrey Taylor will account for 2 wins or more, in my opinion. Secret weapon. The field position battle is going to be huge this year, guys. I'm going to go to right here. The other part of what Velus Jones was talking about when they asked him about the new kickoff rules and how it's going to work, he talked about how it's going to be an advantage for him because once he hits a hole, if he can find the hole and hit the hole and get through it, he's gone. I mean, he basically, with confidence, it wasn't this arrogant, cocky, I've arrived, I'm the guy. It's, hey, I'm interested to see how, he even said, I'm interested to see how other teams play it because if we can get the ball, we can hit a hole, there's a good possibility we're running that thing to the house. I love seeing that type of stuff from Bayless Jones. That's exactly the type of weapon that he's brought in for. That's who he is. That's why we have him. That speed is going to be killer. All right. I like that too, Jigsaw. Luck kind of did go our way since 7-10 got us out Doomsday. Guys, I can't believe I don't believe the Giants will ever do Hard Knocks again after what's being shown on Hard Knocks. First of all, the interview with Dable and the way that Romo Dunze was 10 times more professional than him, they were locked in on Malik Neighbors before they even interviewed these guys. I took a little bit of crap in the offseason for saying Romo Dunze was the clear number one because of his contested catch, his low drop, and just his size and the X receiver ability. I took a little crap for that, but the reality is when you watch those guys, I think even more that Romo Dunze was the clear number one. Yes, I'm saying over Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. has some natural talent. You look at the way he plays, it's special. They're both going to be great, okay? That's why it's hard. That's why you get a little bit of crap for saying stuff like that. But the way Rome, even when they were talking, Tyreek Stevenson, when he was interviewed talking about Romo Dunze, or Jalen Johnson, it was Jalen Johnson, talking about Romo Dunze, they said, what's different? And he said, and I'm not, this isn't per quote, because this is a couple days ago, I just try to bring this stuff back into my mind. He said he's sneaky quick. Sneaky quick. He's not going to beat you off the line is what he said, but the way he goes about his routes and the way that he separates and then the way he has his contested catches, Rome's going to be special. And that's the one thing on this team that I kind of keep going back to. And I need to put it up before the Hall of Fame game because I had a contest out there. Those who haven't done it, go back and look for the video. It's giving away a jersey for whichever receiver hits 1,000 yards first. In fact, I'll go back later and I'll put the link to that video in this description now that we're done. But Rome could easily be wide receiver one this year, guys. Not just any other year, he would have come out as one of the most generational wide receivers to come out of the draft. But this is a stacked team. Keenan Allen, if you didn't see, he's in the top 60 for NFL's top 100 this year. That's fun to see. He deserves it. Give the man his flowers. He's a stud. Keenan Allen's special. You watch his route running. This team is stacked. DJ Moore, absolutely not taking anything away from him. We all know DJ already. We've seen what he can do, the way he separates, the way that he can create a little bit of distance, and then the way he runs like a running back once he has the ball. I think Romo Dunze. Anyways, going back to Hard Knocks, I don't know how we got Rome at 9. I don't have any clue how they took Malik Neighbors and him wasting all his money at the strip club and showing up to camp with a frown on his face, unhappy. Like, I don't understand everything there. Debo Light, and talking about Bayless Jones Jr., I completely agree. There's going to be some fun things to see when it comes to that. All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up. We're going on 45 minutes. I meant to keep this at a half hour. To sum it up, I am a little bit nervous. I'm nervous about this line. I'm nervous. Am I concerned to the point where I'm worried like a Packers fan should be? No, they're so delusional. Throw the puke emoji, cheese emoji, puke emoji, cheese emoji in the thread on the side, guys. Get it in the chat because this is going to be the year of all years to be able to shove it down Packers fans' throats when they just signed one of the biggest garbage contracts in the history of the NFL. This is going to be so reminiscent of Russell Wilson in Denver. It's not even funny. Like, come back to this channel in 2 years when they're cutting Jordan Love after 2 years from right now. They've got to keep him 3 years. They're going to suffer. They're going to go down and they're going to have to suffer through a bad contract and try to figure it out. They will be drafting a quarterback this year and next year. They're going to be drafting a quarterback second, third round to try to figure it out. They're going to have struggles on their hands. And I love seeing it. I love seeing the shift, the downfall. Because the Packers have owned us. There's no way about it. They've owned us the last 5, 10, 15 years. It's been there. It's been them. Even the year when we won the division at 12-4, they beat us in the NFC Championship game and went to the playoff. Went to the Super Bowl. So it's frustrating. If there's one thing that I can say from my analytics and the stuff that I'm looking at, Jordan Love with a 72% adjusted completion percentage, but a 66% normal completion percentage, that small variation, that tiny variation is not normal. That is bust written all over it. I haven't even brought that up on the channel yet. I brought up how Jordan Love's 72% adjusted completion percentage was 33rd in the league. I brought that up. But that if you go look at his completion percentage was higher, his normal completion percentage. The difference between adjusted completion percentage and completion percentage is the factors that go into a quarterback, how the quarterback accounts for that. It's the quarterback's ability outside the team. So without his play callers getting his wide receivers that were unknown to the rest of the league, without him having that ability, without them being wide open, diving for catches because he's so inaccurate, he's his fourth. This is going to be his fifth year. He's 4 years in the league, that inaccurate. If you guys don't remember last training camp last year, the big thing was how he was throwing at a target. You see Caleb Williams throwing into that net with 3 holes. That's normal for a quarterback to be hitting every one of those holes. Last year, Jordan Love was throwing those same throws, and they were having video of that in training camp. He was missing. He was missing the net. Then they had the target on the ground. If you guys don't remember this, he was throwing. He couldn't even come close to it. It was so bizarre. I was laughing so hard. The difference is they have Matt LaFleur, and they had all these wide receivers, and they had the 9th best line. Their line has changed, and they have video on Jordan Love, and they have video on those wide receivers. The defensive coaches like Matt Eberflus and Eric Washington will absolutely pounce on that this year. November 17th is the day that I have circled, and I am so freaking ready to watch us hammer the Packers. It will be a 10-plus point victory. That's a big victory in the NFL. You never see line spreads that big. I'm telling you guys right now. All right, if you haven't hit the like button by now, please consider doing so. Guys, we got a lot coming up. There's going to be a lot of fun things ahead of us. I got a lot to bring to you guys. I'm just busy with the kids and with all this other stuff. This is going to be a fun year for Bears fans. Yes, I'm concerned about the line. I'm interested to see what Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus do before we get into the season. I think there's reason to concern when you bring up this and when you bring up, we only have 8 that are really locks to make the team right now. Yeah, there's reason to concern. Is it panic concern? No, I'm not panic concerned. I'm glad we have 4 preseason games. I'm going to say that. I'm glad we have the 4 preseason games. And I think even if Caleb only takes a snap or 2 in the Hall of Fame game, the line needs to take some more snaps. You need to see guys like Matt Pryor. You need to see Larry Borum. If he's gonna be that 9th guy, you need to see him playing that entire game to see what he can do. You need to see Nate Davis in there for some snaps. We need to see Ja'Tyre Carter in there constantly. We need to see it. So with that, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. I think there's a lot to be excited about. I am a little concerned still. That's what I'll say. I'm a little concerned still. I want to see one more big improvement, one more big upgrade, and I think that really solidifies this team to be a lock for a 10-win team. I'm glad for what I'm seeing with the defensive line. I'm glad for what you're hearing about Gervon Dexter. I'm glad for what you're hearing about Andrew Billings. That interior shored up gives me a big boost. I feel good about it. Montez Sweat, obviously you feel great about it. What you're hearing about Jacob Martin, feel great about it. So the defensive line, I do feel a lot better about. I hope we can add someone else on the offensive line. I am a little concerned. With that, claws up, bear down, and until next time, the Bears.